Next to Dr. Gal for his input, listening to what is coming from an Indian side, from the Nodal Center of Excellence for Artificial Intelligence in Agriculture, how you see the potential opportunities of collaborating with the Indian counterparts for the joint AI impact together. All right. Professor Gal, I'll request, as our ambassador has some important assignments lined in a couple of minutes. So before we move to our fellow panelists, I would like, in fact, we all would like to have the thought-provoking session and the vision for India and Israel coming together from His Excellency, from Ambassador himself.
Hello, everybody. I'm really thrilled to be here at the AI Summit, and I want to thank the organizers, IIT Ropar and Maya Sherman from the embassy, as well as welcoming my colleagues from Israel. Thank you for making all the way to come here and speak with us. Imagine a day in which every farmer in India, every one of the millions and millions of farmers, will be able to have in his cell phone the entire knowledge that research has gathered in history and make it available for him to implement in his plot. Whether in a situation that all the weather information, all the knowledge gathered about soil analysis, all the knowledge gathered about the quality of the right seeds to put, all the knowledge guiding him when to plant, what to plant, when to fertilize, when to irrigate, how much to irrigate. The satellite imagery that would analyze the soil, the water in the soil, the humidity of the soil, will be available not just for the entire plot, for every plant in his plot. Imagine that all that would be available thanks to the huge amount of knowledge that has been gathered and that is accumulated by AI. Well, the news, ladies and gentlemen, is that this technology is already available. And we are going to use the platform that we have built with the government of India in the last 30 years to make this knowledge available to each and every farmer. We, as you know, have built together with a huge investment from the Indian government that has spent between $3 to $4 million in each one of the 34 centers of excellence that are spread all around India, with modern irrigation systems, modern nurseries that supply subsidized seedlings to the farmers, seedlings that have the qualities that are required in order to get better crops and to use less pesticides. This is all working today, and we are going to add a layer that we started actually experimenting this year in 9 plots in Punjab, Haryana, and Maharashtra. And these plots are being demonstrating the technology of an Israeli company called NDRIP. You might want to look it up, ndrip.com. This company has developed a system that actually not only does almost all of what I mentioned before, but also does it with a requirement of almost zero energy. And why is that? It's because NDRIP is using a very specific technology in which the irrigation chip doesn't need a lot of pressure in the water. And you can use actually gravity to irrigate a plot of 150 meters on 150 meters. And this system that costs no more than $2,000 and can be useful for a farmer for several years can gather with sensors the analysis of the ground and transmit it directly to an AI center that actually helps the farmer and tells him what is the situation of his soil, when to plant, when to harvest, when to fertilize. Everything is available now. NDRIP has already implemented, is applied in several fields around the country in private farms. I personally visited one of them about a month ago in near Agra in Uttar Pradesh. And now we have finished establishing, as I said, 9 demonstration plots in the centers of excellence. We hope that after the Ministry of Agriculture analyzes the results of these plots, they will decide to adopt it nationwide. And once that happens, the implications for the average Indian farmer will be huge. So we are so happy that thanks to the trust that we have built with the Indian government, thanks to the cooperation we have been having with agricultural research institutes such as IIT Ropar, we are bringing this news to the agricultural sector in India, to the farmers of India, and I know that as much as we have succeeded so far in getting modern irrigation systems to millions and millions of farmers around the country, we are going to do the same with AI, thanks to technologies like NDRIP and many other technologies that together we will bring to this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the vibrant words and the thought that you have shared with us. Of course, the success lies in joint collaboration and together, not just starting with the Agra, but of course, reaching to Punjab with IIT Ropar. Thank you. Thank you for your words. Now I jump back to Professor Gal for his perspective on how the way forward for India and Israel coming together to take it forward from here.
Well, I don't know if you know that in Israel there's a labor shortage right now. So when there's a labor shortage, what do? Actually, you have one option is to raise salaries for attract people. Another way is to find more workers. And we're trying to find workers. We can't find workers anywhere. And at the same time, there's an alternatives to implement automation and start working with new tools and the Gen AI and the LLM models and all of the models fits for the artificial intelligence right now allows us to make this technology available for everyone. For instance, if you know, the democratization of the technology allows us, for each one of us, to be a developer in that building applications. This allows us for everyone during agriculture, when you're in the field of agriculture and other businesses as well, to develop things by your own. And each one of us has this potential to become some kind of inventor. And this artificial intelligence, and that's one thing that we're doing in Israel, I think, is allows us to work with this new technology to fit together and to find the best way to coordinate, allows all of the people to be part of this process. And that's something we're trying to do in Israel, and I know you're trying to do that as well in India, to make this technology available for everyone, to use it more commonly. This allows us to make this quantum leap in working with being more efficient, being more productive, and so there's a lot of things, a lot of working with smart agriculture in Israel, a lot of practices, what to do with the crops and understanding, working with data. For each one of us, this technology has become available. So that's something I think it's one advantage of working together, do joint ventures in order to allow more people to be part of this process. What we do, for instance, at the Israel Employment Services in Israel is like trying to find, to work on both sides of the aisle, working with employers, understanding, introducing a new technology, and at the same time introducing also skills for the labor market in order them to know how to use this technology. Sometimes it's very basic, and that's something we're trying to develop, and I think that's a lot of pros in this kind of interventions, and there's a lot for us to bring, and a lot of things for us to understand and to know, and I think working together allows us to implement that very efficiently.
Thank you so much, Professor Gal, for sharing these thoughts and, of course, collaborating together to understand the pain points from both the sides and how we can jointly work together for this. Now, for a different perspective, as we were having a pre-introduction chat with Professor Dove, so would like to have your thoughts on how the seeding of this collaboration can take forward in terms of modernizing agriculture.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to thank Maya and the Embassy of Israel and IIT Roper for hosting this. I want to actually talk about some governance issues that my institute is thinking about an emerging technology in this space. A lot of people, when they talk about AI and biotech, talk about automation, they talk about data, they talk about sensors, they talk about information. I want to talk about a novel area, again, where we are thinking about governance in this space. And really quickly, I'm totally switching tracks. So all of life on the planet follows the exact same rules for the most part. We're all made up of DNA. DNA is comprised of how many letters? Anyone know? 4. That's right. And DNA letters make up words that we call codons. Those codons translate into amino acids, which are the basis for our proteins. Each codon is 3 letters long. That means the dictionary of DNA words is, any mathematicians here? The dictionary of DNA words is 64 words. That's what we have, 64 words of DNA in the entirety of life on the planet, for the most part, with some exceptions. Interestingly enough, what that means, if there's only 20 amino acids that we have 64 words for 20 amino acids, which means that we have what we call a degenerate system. We have a lot of redundancy in the system. And what is emerging now is the technology facilitated by AI for refactoring the human genome, or for refactoring biotechnological crops. What does refactoring mean? That means that we can take a codon that is redundant, and we can add something, and we can change it. We can change it to allow not only optimization facilitated by artificial intelligence, but we can actually introduce novel aspects to proteins. We can introduce non-organic components to proteins, which creates huge opportunities in the area of biotechnology. Thinking about this, though, thinking about the governance issues in this space, there are a lot of really interesting issues that have to be tackled before we can promote this sort of technology. For example, you have to think about patenting. Who owns these emerging technologies? Who facilitates this? Who will implement this? We have to think about, to some degree, whether or not there are concerns with the development of Frankenstein-like crops that we don't, what we call unknowable unknowables. What will happen down the road when we start changing the fundamental aspects of genomes? We have to think about whether or not this qualifies as genetically modified organisms or not. Unfortunately, we also have to think about the weaponization of this technology, whether or not you can create, whether or not malicious actors can create novel sorts of crops that are effectively undetectable because our technologies don't allow for the detection of these sort of novel refactored genomes. Another concern is that the pace of artificial intelligence in allowing us to refactor these genomes sort of outpaces the governance that we currently have, and thinking about how to implement governance today that will be useful tomorrow when this emerging technology erupts. How do we think about those things as well? Of course, AI provides low barriers of entry, so whereas in the past you may need a large university laboratory to develop these refactored genomes, nowadays you can have biohackers in their garages developing these technologies. How do we govern this? How do we protect ourselves from malicious actors? How do we protect ourselves from negligent actors in this sort of space? Thinking about sort of the consolidation of farming, where we have optimized sort of biotechnological outputs, and those optimizations are owned by large corporations. What does that mean for the millions of farmers here in India and abroad? And of course, ultimately, who decides whether or not we move on with this? Who decides whether or not we pass on this technology? How do we decide how to implement these technologies? These are all questions for emerging technologies my institute is thinking about. These are things that we, both in Israel and in India, have to think about the implementation of artificial intelligence in the biotechnological sector. A lot of very interesting questions, very few good answers. So thank you very much for the time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for bringing this concept of ATGC, the